Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Now today we're taking a look at a pre-built gaming PC sold on Amazon. Some tech channels would have you believe that those words in that order are quite frightening, and to be honest, sometimes this is with good reason. It is true that the world of pre-assembled systems can be a bit of a minefield, but with such a huge range of PCs on offer, I think it's about time we started to look at some of them. This system from AWD-IT, known on Amazon as ADMI, seems a good place to start. Not just because they sent it to us to look at today, but because it seems to be very well rated. So let's take a look at this thing. In the interest of clarity, I want to mention now that I've not been paid for this review and the machine will be going back afterwards. Everything I say, as always, is in the interest of helping you as potential buyers. First up then, initial impressions. It looks great. I never used to be a fan of white cases, but there is something aesthetically pleasing about this one. It looks very clean and sleek. Good cable management is all the more important when there's a big tempered glass side panel revealing everything inside, and everything here is very neat and tidy. I've been fooled before though. Now personally, I'm the sort of guy that rams all the messy cables around the other side and crams the side panel back on using brute force. This is probably why it's best I don't build and sell PCs for a living. I mean, I can't even get cables to look this good in my imagination. Spec time. This PC has a Ryzen 5 5600 processor, 3060 Ti and 16 gigs of 3200MHz dual channel RAM. Nice to see not only two sticks, but two sticks in the right place. You'd be surprised at some of the memory configurations I've seen in the wild. Getting dual channel memory in modern systems seems to be quite hard for some, well, even some of the biggest names out there to grasp, but that's a story for another day. There's also 1TB of NVMe storage with Windows 11 Home installed. All this is powered by a Colink Classic 600W PSU. I've used a couple of these Colink supplies before with no issues. They seem to be fairly common in a lot of pre-builts these days. Now I've spoken to a couple of people from different outlets who have complimented the reliability of these units, but I've not seen any written reviews. All I can do is go on personal experience, of course, and say that I've used different models before and never had any trouble. I really like this configuration overall. The 5600 is a solid 6-core all-rounder, and in pairing with the 3060 Ti we should be good for high refresh rate 1080p gaming or solid 1440p performance. I think it's an overlooked aspect, but a sensible parts combo is very important. Now I've seen PCs built with 2nd gen i5s in pairing with a 3060, and on the other hand I've seen Core i7 machines built with GT 710s. They're often more common, to be honest. There are some truly baffling machines out there. As I said, I like this config, but if you are after something a little bit different, or maybe you're working with a different budget, be it higher or lower, then it's well worth looking at what else is available on the ADMI Amazon store or on the AWD-IT website. So far so good then. After watching a few disastrous pre-build videos this week, I'm glad that this one has clearly been built by a company who knows what they're doing. Time to turn it on. I don't really know how well you can see it, but there's some sort of 3D effect with the lighting here that gives the case a cool sort of illusion of depth here. It's actually quite a cool effect. My brain can't work out what's going on. To be honest, I could stare at this for days, but we must move on. It's not really important to the functionality, but it does add to the design aesthetic. Of course, if you want to change the colour or disable RGB completely, then there is a button for that. Nice to see a case being used that supports this, as the dark and spooky atmosphere of a horror game can be somewhat ruined if your room is lit up like a 70s disco. I booted into the BIOS before Windows 11 itself just to check everything was configured correctly and detected, and this was indeed the case, so no issues to report. Restarting the machine and it boots into the Windows setup in a matter of seconds. No nasty surprises or unwanted software on the desktop either. Well, apart from some of the stuff that comes by default with Windows these days. There's a slight hum from the well-positioned fans, which again is a subtle but thoughtful touch. Now at first I was wondering why the front intake fan was down here, but this is of course in alignment with the open mesh part. air can actually be drawn in here. This is again a little detail, but one that is surprisingly and often overlooked with some pre-assembled systems. Sometimes the fan will just be stuck behind a bit of plastic and it can't draw any air in at all. So as far as performance is concerned, the Ryzen 5 5600 is a really solid all-rounder. I've actually wanted to test one of these chips for a while. It's really well priced at the moment as well, and it can be overclocked if you want to do so, plus there's still a nice upgrade path. Let's see how it and the 3060 Ti work well together in some games then. We can also take this opportunity to keep an eye on the temperatures. First up we have Cyberpunk. The 3060 Ti is still a solid card, but it's one that a lot of people missed out on at launch due to scalpers and stock. It's one of my favourite GPUs, to be honest. Cyberpunk 2077 runs at 1440p with over 60 FPS on average thanks to a little help from DLSS. This is with the high settings. Temperatures are fine, and while the stock CPU fan is more audible now, it's not too loud. These are certainly quieter than other stock coolers out there, if you get what I mean. Red Dead still looks really good, fantastic actually at 1440p, even with the settings at high and the textures at ultra. To be honest, the difference between high and ultra on anything but the textures isn't all that noticeable. TAA was left at medium though. At the time of this recording, I've actually been using this PC for about a week now, perhaps just over, and I've got no issues to report. My main sort of point to look out for when I first got this was build quality. I've seen some pretty questionable stuff before, so I was on the lookout for anything out of the ordinary, but unfortunately my taste for hilarity has not been satisfied. In the long run though, I am thankful for that. Badly built pre-built systems are funny when you've not spent any money, but if you have, then they can ruin your day or your whole experience with PC gaming altogether. This ADMI PC has been a pleasure to use, in all honesty. Forza Horizon 5 next, and what can I say, this usually runs well, and here that's more than true, over 100 FPS with 1440p and the ultra settings, with ray tracing quality set to high. The percentile lows were solid as always. Spider-Man also ran well, the frame rate dropped a bit in busier areas, which is expected as this can be very CPU intensive, but overall it was a smooth experience with this computer. The Witcher 3 next gen looks incredible at 1440p ultra even with ray tracing off, and it runs with over 60 FPS. You'll find that the 3060 Ti is still very much capable of 1440p gaming in 2023, though there are certainly games that will benefit from DLSS or FSR. You may find this to be true in games like Hogwarts Legacy, though we do still seem to be averaging 60 without the help of upscaling here, which was surprising. The game has been helped with a few recent patches for sure. Competitive online titles like Fortnite are probably best played at 1080p for as many frames as possible, but 1440p is still doable. This has really become more demanding in recent months, especially with the UE5 update, but this system still handles it well. Now overall, I'm happy with this PC. It is possible to build your own for perhaps less, and you can customise and tweak each part as you see fit, but the market is definitely there for pre-builts, this goes without saying. It can be difficult to know where to look though, and which companies you should be considering buying from. As far as this machine goes, it's done alright by me this past week, and it's clear that it's been put together by passionate professionals. They also sent some of the boxes for the parts too, which I've confirmed they do when they can, unless the parts are tray. It's a nice touch if you want to display these or sell parts on, or if you want to upgrade anything in the future. I'll leave a link to this machine on Amazon, and of course the AWD-IT website as well, because there you'll find a lot more pre-builts at sort of varying budgets, so definitely worth taking a look if you're interested. And of course you can choose to add or take away parts as you see fit as well. Thank you very much for watching then. If you enjoyed this one, leave a like, leave a dislike if you didn't. This has been my week with an Amazon pre-built, gone pretty well, I'd say. Subscribe to the channel, of course, if you want to and you haven't done so already, and hopefully I'll see all of you in the next one.